Good evening to all of you. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to our service. This evening we begin our service in our virtual prayer books, so that's available online, Mishkan Tefillah online, and that way you should be able to access the virtual prayer book. And we're going to begin this evening with Hine Matov Umanayim Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, virtual page 10.
Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Hine ma tov. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Hine ma tov, Hine ma tov. Lai 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 lai. Hine ma tov, hine ma tov. Lai 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 lai. Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad, Hine ma tov u'manayim. Shevet Achim Gam Yachad.
We welcome Shabbat now as we turn in our virtual prayer books to page 20. If you actually have a copy of the regular prayer book, the book version, that is page 120. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us, as their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu Likne shel Shabbat.
We turn now in our virtual prayer books to page 44 as we continue with the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divrach yidutev yamlich machuteh, B'chayechon u'vyamechon u'chayede kol bet Yisrael, Ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'yimeru amen. Yehi Shemei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'l'almei hamaya, Yitzbarach, Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitbahar, Vitramam, Vitnaseh, Vitadad, Vitale, Vitalal, Shemed Kudsha Barichu, Le'elamin Kol Bechata V'Shirata, Tushmechata V'Nechemata, Adamiran B'Yama, V'Meru, Amen.
We continue now on virtual page 46 as we rise for the Baruch Hu, the call to worship.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Vad.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach she'arim, uvidvana meshane itim, umachalif et azmanim umesader et hakochavim, b'mishmeratei barakia kirtzono, b'rayom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or, uma'avir yom umevi layla, umavdil ben yom uvein layla, Adonai Sevaot Shemo, El Chai V'Kayam, Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai HaMa'ariv Aravim.
Ahavat Olam, Bet Yisrael, Mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed, ki hem chayenu, ve'orech yarenu, uvahem negeh yomam v'alayla, Baruch atah
You may be seated as we continue now with the Via Havta virtual page 54.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובחומך, וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work, whether you are tired or you are rested. Let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. Virtual page 57. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נודע תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לבני משה, מלכותך ראו בניך, בוקע ים לבני משה. זלזלי אנו ואמירו אדוני ימלוך לעולם לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נודע תהילות אוסף אלה, אוסף אלה. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב, וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה
We continue now in our virtual prayer book, page 61. I'm going to be reading this evening the bottom reading. As you perhaps saw in the news, Sudan has now made a peace overture toward Israel, the third nation in several months to do so. So let us hope and continue praying that God's peace will finally descend upon Jerusalem. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence our acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, haParesukat shalom aleinu, v'al amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
V'shomeru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam birit olam. Beni Reuven, Bnei Yisrael, oti leolam, oti Shamayim vet haaretz uvayom hashvi'i Shavat
Prayer invites God's presence to suffuse our spirits, God's will to prevail in our lives. Prayer may not bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city. But prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, rebuild a weakened will. Let us rise now for Tefillah, virtual page 64.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi tehillatcha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagidor, Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomer Chasadim Tovim V'Koneh HaKol V'Zocher Hasdei Avot V'Imahot U'Mevi Gula Livnei V'Nem Leman Shemo Be'ahava מלך חוזר ומשיח ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בר גבורות ומדור מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated as we continue now on virtual page 73. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied. Dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shakas Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of the living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Ritzeh Adonai Eloheinu be'amecha Yisrael u'tefilatam be'ahava
We continue on virtual page 76. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one whose mercies never end, O compassionate one whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. For all these things, O sovereign, let your name be forever praised and blessed. O God, our Redeemer and Helper, let all who live affirm you and praise your name in truth. Blessed are you, Adonai. Your name is goodness, and you are worthy of thanksgiving. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata Lechol HaShalom Ki ata Melech Adon Lechol HaShalom Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam V'tol b'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol B'chol shah b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam.
Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. Make contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul, and may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamivarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. At this time in our service, we ask for God's healing on all those who are ill, God's presence with all those who take care of those who are ill, and we ask for God to be with all those families grieving the loss of loved ones. Let us join together now as we sing our prayer for healing, the Misha Beirach, virtual page 271.
Of strength, who bless the ones before us. Help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Take a moment now for silent prayer. Shalom bimromav, uyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'im a story is told about Nikita Khrushchev, who during his years of rule in the USSR denounced many of the atrocities and policies of Joseph Stalin. Once, as he censured Stalin in a public meeting, Khrushchev was interrupted by a shout from a heckler in the audience. "You were one of Stalin's colleagues. Why didn't you stop him?" "Who said that?" roared Khrushchev. An agonizing silence followed, as nobody in the room dared move a muscle. Then Khrushchev quietly replied, "Now you know why." In this week's Torah portion, Noah is told by God to construct an ark. The purpose of the ark is to save Noah's family while the rest of humanity is destroyed. God says, because the earth had become filled with violence. God tells Noah to make an ark of gopher wood. 300 cubits will be the ark's length. Its width will be 50 cubits and 30 cubits its height. No doubt, such a project would have captured the curiosity of Noah's neighbors. We would think that they might stop their violence for a moment to notice the building of the ark. But there is no evidence of that in the Torah, nor is there any evidence that Noah tried to speak with his neighbors so that they might correct their evil ways. Why would Noah not try to warn his neighbors about the impending flood? Did he realize the futility of speaking as his neighbors were so utterly evil that they were incapable of having a rational conversation about changing themselves? Was he afraid that they might kill him and his family as he urged them to repent? And why does God not speak to the people? God seems to have no trouble interceding when Cain is killed. So why refrain from interceding when the lives of so many individuals were at stake? Was Noah correct in his own assessment that the people were so irrational, so consumed by wickedness, that confronting the mob was a waste of time, which is why God too is silent? We can understand Noah's silence. After all, his life could be taken from him. But why God's silence? We certainly can see why Noah might be reluctant to speak with the people. We might appreciate why God was disinterested in speaking to the unrepentant masses. But why does Noah not even question God regarding this harsh decree? Even if God did not speak to Noah about the people, why did Noah not speak on behalf of the people to God? Was every single soul worthy of punishment? Were there not any people worthy of being saved from the destructive waters of the flood? Was Noah simply accepting because he realized that he was not going to change the mind of God? Was silence Noah's consent? To add to the mystery, we encounter another interesting verse in this portion. After the flood, after God surveys this mass destruction, God is the recipient of a sacrificial offering from Noah. God is pleased with this sacrifice and says, I won't curse the ground on account of humankind again. But looking carefully, this comment is not made out loud. Rather, the Torah tells us that God makes this comment el libo. God says this literally in his heart to himself. Why not out loud? Was it too painful for God to recount what had been done? Was God feeling that this punishment might have been too severe? More questions than answers. Interpreters can use this story to justify different viewpoints and, of course, different actions. There are times when speaking out is required, especially in the face of injustice. But there are also times when speaking out can be wrong, when our speaking out seems righteous, but is so loud it obscures unpopular truths. There are times when our speaking out is right, when it is in the best interests of another person. But there are times when our speaking out is wrong, when it is done more to be part of the group than to solve an actual problem. There are times when we need to support the truth, but who can blame someone for remaining silent when speaking the truth would require the individual to confront a majority fixated on their own truths and not the whole truth? The narrative about Noah and the flood conveys many lessons, one of which is designed to remind us, in the words of Ecclesiastes, that there is a time to keep silence and a time to speak. I would add that real wisdom is knowing in which situation one or the other is appropriate. Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Hope that all of you are doing well. Please stay safe. Let us turn now to our concluding prayers. The Elena is found in our virtual prayer book, page 300.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וכל עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לבני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We continue now in our virtual prayer book, page 309. There are stars up above so far away, we only see their light long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. At this sacred moment of our Shabbat worship, we think longingly and lovingly of Ruth Friedman, Christopher Henshin, and Connie Stanford, all taken from us during recent days and weeks. We name too at this time those whose yahrzeits, the anniversary of whose passing occurs, as on this Shabbat we recall Lester D. Alexander, Bernice Bunny Behrman, Willard Benjamin, Blanche D. Cohn, Manuel R. Cohn, Sam Davis, Joseph O. Epstein, Nathaniel Fine, Joseph G. Gallen, Sabine Geringer, Sarah Grass-Green, Mark Stephen Greenfield, Harold Eisen, Julius A. Myers, Jean Perisky, Sophie G. Raven, Miriam Rawitcher, Evelyn Retsky, Ann K. Rogalski, Saul Schwartz, Brent Sells, Arlene Scharfman, Nancy Weisberg, and Karen Zipfel. Let us turn now in our virtual prayer books to page 312 as we rise for the words of the Kaddish and sanctify the name of God. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah Bialma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mivarach le'olamo lamei almaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudsha barichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechamata Da'amiran bi'alma v'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba min Shemaya v'chayim, Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, U'ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, Amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved, here and everywhere, as together we say Amen.
Amen.
This evening we conclude our service as we join together in singing Ein Keloheinu, that is found in the virtual prayer book, page 322.
En Keloheinu, en Kadonenu, en Kemalkenu, en Kemoshienu, Michelohenu, Michadonenu, Michemalkenu, Michemoshienu, Nodel Elohenu, Nodel Adonenu, Nodel Malkenu, Nodel Moshienu, Baruch Elohenu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkenu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Elohenu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkenu, Atahu Moshienu.
Please join us now for the Kiddush, which you may find in your virtual prayer books, page 23.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei piri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodesho be'ahava u'v'ratzon hinchilanu. Zikaron lemase v'reshit, ki hu yom techila limiknai kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, kivanu v'archata, v'otanu kidashta, mechomim, v'shabbat kodeshecha, be'av u'v'ratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, mikadesh ha-Shabbat. Amen.
L'chaim.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom to all of you.